Right in the very heart of South America, there's a nation of profound contradictions. I'm talking about a land of massive rivers, but with no sea. A people forged in the fires of a war that nearly wiped them out, yet who are known today for being overwhelmingly happy. This is the enigma of Paraguay. It's a story of survival, duality, and joy against all odds.
You know, if you look at a map, Paraguay seems trapped, completely landlocked by its huge neighbors. But that's a bit of an illusion, because cutting right through its center are two gigantic rivers, the Paraguay and the Paraná. They're the nation's lifeblood, its liquid highway out to the Atlantic. They transform this seemingly isolated land into what's essentially a river-bound island, its destiny forever tied to the currents.
And this is where we get to the central puzzle. It's a history written in almost unimaginable loss, a story of survival against impossible odds. And yet, it's also a story of deep, profound joy. So how can both of those things be true at the same time? Well, the answer starts back in the 19th century, at the very moment Paraguay was almost erased from existence.
Every country has its defining traumas, right? But what Paraguay went through, it's on another level. To really get a grasp on the Paraguay of today, we have to go back and understand the war that nearly destroyed it. They called it the War of the Triple Alliance. And just picture this. On one side, you have Paraguay, standing completely alone. And against it, the combined military might of Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay. For 6 brutal years, the continent was just engulfed in this ferocious war, a conflict that would unleash a demographic catastrophe on Paraguay unlike anything the Americas had ever seen. The sheer scale of the devastation, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. We're not talking about a loss of a few percentage points of the population here. Conservative estimates suggest that Paraguay lost more than half of its entire people to the fighting, to disease, and to starvation, an absolutely unimaginable national trauma.
And if you thought that last number was staggering, this one is just heartbreaking. Out of a population of maybe 500,000 or more before the war, only around 28,000 adult men were left alive at the end. Just let that sink in for a second. The country's male population was, for all intents and purposes, annihilated, leaving a nation of women, children, and the elderly to rebuild from complete and utter ruin.
And to understand the depth of this tragedy, you have to think about what was lost. Before the war, Paraguay was apparently a uniquely prosperous place. There was a British engineer living there at the time, and he wrote of a happy, secure society where people, and I quote, had hardly to do any work. So the war wasn't just a loss of life, it was the total obliteration of a way of life. So, from the ashes of that war, a new Paraguay had to emerge. It became a nation forever marked by duality. And this sense of having two worlds in one isn't just some historical echo. It's literally etched into the very land and the culture of the country. The Paraguay River literally splits the country in two. To the east, you've got the Paraná region. Think green, rolling hills, lots of rain. It's where over 95% of the population lives. But then you go west, across the river, and you're in the Chaco, a vast, semi-arid and almost completely empty wilderness. Two totally different environments, two totally different realities, all inside one border. But you know, this physical divide is really just a mirror of a much deeper cultural one. A duality that you can actually hear on any street corner in Asunción, and it's something that makes Paraguay completely unique in all of the Americas. So yeah, Spanish is an official language, just like it is across most of the continent. No surprise there. But look at this. Over 90% of the population also speaks Guarani. Now, this isn't a case of an indigenous language being confined to some small, remote community. No, this is the daily language of the majority of the nation, spoken by pretty much everyone.
What this means is you have a level of indigenous language preservation that is simply unmatched anywhere else in Latin America. It's this living, breathing fusion of two worlds, a two-souled identity that managed to endure colonialism and even survive a war of annihilation. It's incredible.
And this theme of paradox, it just keeps going, right into Paraguay's modern economy. I mean, we're looking at a developing nation that is, at the exact same time, a global energy superpower. And it's all thanks to those very same rivers that define its geography. This right here is the Itaipu Dam. It's this colossal monument to engineering straddling the Paraná River. It is one of the largest hydroelectric plants on the entire planet. And get this, built with Brazil, this single structure generates so much power that it provides 100% of Paraguay's electricity, with a truly enormous amount left over. This chart really puts it all into perspective. Paraguay produces over 60 billion kilowatt-hours of electricity a year, but it only uses a fraction of that, about 15 billion. So that massive surplus, it doesn't go to waste, it gets sold. And the result of all that? Paraguay is the world's #1 exporter of hydroelectric power. That landlocked island we talked about at the start, yeah, it's a powerhouse, sending clean energy to its giant neighbors, and proving that natural resources are about more than just what you can pull out of the ground.
And yet, beneath this incredible story of energy wealth lies, you guessed it, another contradiction. Deep economic inequality is still a huge problem. An astonishing 85% of the country's farmland is controlled by a tiny, tiny elite, which means that for a lot of people, the benefits of this modern boom are still way out of reach.
So here we are. We have this nation of profound contrasts, a tragic past and a powerful present, this incredible cultural fusion, and yet these stark economic divides. All of which brings us right back to our original question. Because in 2014, a major global poll asked people all over about their positive experiences. If they felt well rested, if they smiled or laughed a lot, if they felt respected. And the country that came out on top, ahead of everyone else, was Paraguay. The nation forged in fire, the land of contradictions, was declared the happiest place on earth.
So how is this possible? What is the source of this incredible spirit? Is it in that unique, dual-souled culture? Is it an unbreakable focus on family and community? Or is it something else? A deeper kind of strength that's forged only by surviving the very worst that history can throw at you?
There's no simple answer. But perhaps the key to Paraguay's spirit is this. True resilience isn't about forgetting tragedy. It's about weaving it into the national fabric. It's the ability to hold two opposing truths at the same time, sorrow and joy, past and future, and from them create an identity that is not just unbreakable, but somehow profoundly happy.